Welcome back, folks. It's the Wayniac Nation Wild Card Weekend Gone Wild Spectacular. I'm your host, Wayne Cavati, and I'm sure, like many of you, have had an interesting day. We are filming this on Wednesday night. The witty, comical, usually opening line is eluding me tonight, but the show must go on, as they say. As always, let's welcome the best co-hosts in the YouTube podcasting game. Coming at you from New York is the one, the only Fanduel Fee. Fee, how are you?
I'm good, man. Our country's under siege, but I got some good plays for Fanduel coming up this weekend.
So. That's all that matters, and that's what we're here for.
We'll be all right.
Think about. Live from Tobacco Road, it is the what's the word I'm looking for? When you can't imitate them.
It's Dunton, the one and only.
The one and only. Dunton, welcome back.
How are you? Yeah, interesting day for sure. But we're gonna make it through. It's gonna be all right.
Yeah,
we'll get there.
And we have football this weekend, right? And
lots of football. We get an extra 2 playoff games this weekend.
Yeah. I like it.
We don't want to make light of anything that's going on in the world, but we also give you something else to think about, and that's what we're.
That's right. That's right.
All right, enough politicking, folks. Now it's time to move on. And obviously, you normally tune in for starts and sits, but we don't need that anymore because there just aren't any. But we do have some daily fantasy fun. Wild Card Weekend's one of my favorite weekends normally. And as Dutton said, there's extra games. And we also have our locks of the week. So before we jump into Big Larry's locks of the week, let me just tell you a little bit something. We started this podcast in week 6. We didn't start at the beginning of the season. We didn't really have any rhyme or reason to it. We didn't think that we'd still be going in the playoffs. I think that's a fair assessment. So when we picked our locks of the week, it wasn't that we picked this many games or that many games or focused on this games. We told you what we liked. So on the season, Dutton, Fiamano, and myself, we all have different records because we kind of just told you what games we liked. That being said, we all had pretty good records for our first go at this. Fee, you're not happy. I think going for our first time, it was pretty good.
You were 2 games under 500. You're walking out of Vegas making money, buddy.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I just wish I would have been 500 at least.
I got you.
I hear you. I went 4-0 last week. That moved me to 21-14-1. I pushed a game earlier in the season. Fee, as he mentioned, is not happy with his, but I think it's a very admirable 17-19-1 in your first season as a don't try this at home, kids. We are professional lock pickers. And Dutton was an even 500 at 12-12.
Yeah, the Jets blew it last week. They're on fire, and then they can't beat Cam Newton and let him actually catch touchdowns.
A little fun fact that we dug into: 2 of the 3 teams that we picked most often and rewarded us most of the time, the Packers, the Washington football team, and the New York Giants. 2 of those teams are still alive and well and could possibly continue to help you. So for the remainder of the playoffs, the 3 of us are going to pick every game that's coming at you because there's so little of them. So let's get started with Wild Card Weekend, and we'll start with Saturday's action. Right now, I see the Colts and the Bills at 7. The Bills giving 7. I'm sorry. The over/unders at 51.5. I've seen it at 51. I've seen it at 52. So we're in the ballpark here. Dutton, I'll start with you. Who do you like in this game?
Well, of course, my wife would throw me out of the house if I didn't pick her Bills to win. But that being said, I do think they win. I think they cover. I think this Bills team is watching film from last year's playoff game and taking notes of what not to do. That team has been playing really well. They looked unstoppable on Sunday in a game that didn't really have to win, but also the Dolphins needed to win. And the Bills were like, nope, no thanks. So I'm taking the Bills and the points.
Fee?
Yeah, I'm going the same way. The Bills they are humming right now. I mean, it's kind of crazy to think about, but they've just been on fire, and I don't see that ending anytime soon. I know that the Colts have a very good defense, but I don't think that Josh Allen's going to be stopped in this one, and I think they cover the 7 points. I really do.
Yeah.
I would also say I wouldn't necessarily bet this on my own, but if you were to bet the over under, I'd take the under in this game.
I agree for
And
sure. I don't see the Colts scoring a lot.
Yeah, and I'll agree with you. I was going to say I see this like a 31-14, 31-17 game Bills victory. So I think that obviously I'm jumping on board with you guys that they'll cover the spread. And if you can do math, that's 48 points. So I'm with Fiamano on the under as well. So yeah, it looks like Bills you can lock them in, folks, with 7 points or 6.5 if that's what you're seeing. Next, we move on to a tough one. I'll let these guys talk first because I have a lot of mixed feelings about this. Rams and the Seahawks. I see the Seahawks are giving 4 points and the over under is 42.5. Fee, this time I'll start with you. What do you think?
Yeah, I got Seattle in this one, given the 4. And I know we spoke about it before we started that Goff looks like he's coming back. Robert Woods said that he looked good in practice. I'm not really buying it a whole lot. Seattle's defense has been playing better as of late. And I don't know what happened with Seattle's offense the last 4 or 5 weeks of the season, but I think they get it together here. And whether they run the ball or they unleash Russ again, I think he just gets it done. And I think they'll be able to cover the 4 points.
Okay, Dutton, how about you?
Yeah, I agree. I go with the Seahawks here. We just don't, even the Goff stuff aside, healthy Goff coming into the game. You didn't know what Rams team you were going to get every week, right? I mean, they struggled against the Jets, they struggled against some other teams, and they play lights out against other teams. You're like, who is this team? I think that's kind of going to catch up with them this week. They're playing in Seattle. I know there's no fans. The 12th man's not there, but still a tough place to play. I'm going with the Seahawks.
Personally, I would stay as far away from this game as possible. It's that difficult for me.
I agree.
I've gone back and forth on it. One thing I could tell you, the over under is 42.5, and in doing the research, 67% of the last 34 games that the Rams have been involved in have gone under.
Mm-hmm.
So let's start there. I see this game as like 20. This is where I'm getting caught up on the spread. It's 2017-ish, 21-17-ish. Now you're in the ballpark where you can cover. It's like you said, both of these teams are inconsistent. And just for giggles, because we have so much in common the rest of the way, I'm going to say take the Rams on this one. A healthy Goff, a healthy Cup. I think the Seahawks win. I'm looking at that cover. I'm looking at that 20-17 win, and that gives the Rams the cover.
All right, so I'll take it.
So let's move on to the next game, and that brings us to the Washington football team and the Tampa Bay Bucks. Since this is someone's favorite team on this podcast, we'll let you go last. Fiamano, why don't you get us rolling? What do you think?
So I looked at this game and I thought immediately that Washington would cover the 8 points. It wasn't even a question in my mind. I'm looking at this and I see that both of you guys have Bucks win, and that may be the case. But Washington's going to keep it closer than I think people are going to think here. And if you got the stones to do it, you could play Washington on the money line and get a pretty damn good price. And hey, who knows? Hopefully, if you do it, then they can pull it out, make you a nice little buck right there. But I would definitely take Washington plus the 8.
Okay. I agree with you. Take Washington with the 8, but I do think the Bucks are going to win. My issue is Alex Smith. I know he's not healthy, but he just doesn't look mobile right now, right? And if he can't move against the Bucks, we've said it. You've said it every week. The way to beat the Bucks is through the air, but he's got to be able to get away from the rush, because they do have a good front seven. So I could see them having trouble, which is why I don't think they win. But I do think there's just too many weapons on that team for the Bucks to run away with this game, and that defense is too good. So Bucks win. Washington football team covers.
Hey, before Dunton starts, is Mike Evans is not healthy?
He's wishy-washy.
Well, probably not, but I don't think that even if he plays, I don't think that he's going to make much of a difference on that offense. Another reason to take Washington plus the 8.
Yeah. And Dunton, What are we thinking?
All right. So obviously this is my team. First time in the playoffs since 2007. So it's been a long time. The last 2 times we're in the playoffs, we've lost to NFC East teams. 2005 was Washington. 2007 was the Giants. Chase Young, fabulous rookie defensive lineman for the Washington football team, might have made a big mistake Sunday night running off the field. He asked for Tom Brady. I don't think he knows what he's really asking for because this is playoff Tom, right? We know playoff Tom. He's been activated. Yes, Fiumano, you're right. Mike Evans is banged up, slipped on some patchy sod apparently in the end zone the other day when he was trying to catch a touchdown pass. The Bucs win. The 8 points scares me, so I'm taking the Washington football team to cover, but it's very hesitant because there's part of me that thinks the Bucs go out there and just roll all over this team. And to answer your question, Wayne, Washington is already talking about playing multiple quarterbacks.
Right.
So
I did say that.
Trying to figure out the Alex Smith injury and how injured he is. But I do think Washington covers. Just the Bucs defenses, every now and then they have some mental breaks and letdowns, and I think they let a couple sneaky points in at the end. There's like a backdoor cover. You might see this game on Bad Beats with Scott Van Pelt next week. So pay attention to that.
I love that segment, by the way.
Nice.
Yeah.
So we are moving on to Sundays. That's the first 3 games for Saturday. So moving on to Sunday, we got Ravens giving 3.5 to the Titans. I'll get the ball rolling here because I feel like I'm going Rogue One on the podcast. I think the Ravens cover this game. I am a non-believer in the Titans right now. I think Derrick Henry is the kind of guy that can change a game, but I think right now the Ravens have 2 of those guys. I think Dobbins is really coming into his own, and obviously Lamar Jackson can change a game all by himself. And look, I mean, it took them to the last second to beat the Texans. They got annihilated and embarrassed in Green Bay. I don't care. Snow, whatever the case is, that was embarrassing. I just don't think that this is the Titans we saw in last year's playoffs. And I think the Ravens win by, I don't think by a lot, but I think they cover 3.5. Dutton.
I agree with you. This is not the Ravens we saw in last year's playoffs, which is why I'm picking the Titans because I don't think they're as good as last year's team. They're solid. They've improved, but their breakdown in the middle of the season concerned me. Yes, Dobbins is coming along, and Hollywood Brown has been making a huge impact lately on offense. There's something about Derrick Henry, playoffs, cold weather, possibly snowing in Baltimore this weekend, ball control, run the ball, run the ball, run the ball. I don't know. I'm taking the Titans. I don't think the Ravens might win the game, but it might be like a 19-17 last second field goal to win this game. I don't know. So I'm going to go with the Titans.
And Fee.
So here's the thing with the Titans, right? So their offense and Ryan Tannehill is good enough to move the ball up and down the field. So even if the Ravens are up by, say, 6, or like 9 or even 10, the Titans I feel like are good enough that they could even make the backdoor cover because 2 minutes left in the game, 3 minutes left in the game, they could drive the ball down the field, score the touchdown, and cover the points. So I think this game is closer than people think, and I think the Titans will cover 3 or 3.5, depending on where you're looking. So while the Ravens may win the game, I think the Titans will cover.
Fair enough. That moves us to the largest spread of the weekend, and it is the Saints and the Bears. Until I was prepping for the show, I completely forgot the Bears were in the playoffs, to be perfectly honest with you. That being said, 9.5 points is a lot in the playoffs, and I think the Bears have enough pieces and a solid enough defense that the Saints win this game, but the Bears won't make it that easy. So I think that you could lock in the Bears to cover the 9.5. Fee?
Yeah, I agree. People talk about Trubisky and they say that he's just not good and he's terrible and he really makes the Bears offense worse. But the guy throws the ball and he puts up points and he makes games interesting. And the Bears they got guys on offense. They got Montgomery, and I don't think that they're going to be able to run the ball because the Saints have the best
Yeah.
defense in the league
Right.
against the run. But they certainly can throw the ball. Montgomery catches the ball out of the backfield. They got Allen Robinson. They got Darnell Mooney, who I happen to like. I don't think they're going to win the game, but 9.5 points. I like Chicago getting the 9.5. Playoff games are usually a lot closer than regular season games, and I think 9.5 is a lot of points. So I'm about taking the Bears plus the 9.5.
I agree with you. Dutton, you don't. What do you think?
I don't. I'm going to be the lone wolf on this one. Something about the Saints right now scares me if you're a Bears fan. I mean, what they did against the Panthers defensively last weekend, they didn't even need an offense, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it was insane. And if that's coming after the Bears, that's trouble. Michael Thomas comes back. It's another weapon for Drew Brees, another week of getting healthy. So I'm going to take the Saints. I'm going to take the Saints to try to put a hurting on some people in the playoffs for a while until they get the NFC Championship game. And I think it gets tricky for them. But I think the Saints take this one. I think at home, Drew Brees is going to light it up.
Fair enough. That moves us on to the Pittsburgh and Browns final game of the weekend. Pittsburgh is currently giving 6 points. This line is moving probably as we speak. It opened at 2.5. But once again, COVID strikes the Browns and stuff is all over the place. Again, this is one of another divisional game, like people that know each other really well, two teams that know each other really well. And like I said, with the Seattle and the Rams, I'd stay away from this game. The Steelers have been too inconsistent. But if I have to pick a game, okay, what the Browns have been doing with the resources they have available because someone else is getting COVID every week, that's not going to work in the playoffs. And I just think that the Steelers are able to cover this weekend. Dutton.
Yeah, I mean, what an ultimate Cleveland Brown thing to happen, right? You haven't made the playoffs in 17 years, and then your coach gets COVID, so you don't have a coach. It's the ultimate. And they're apparently investigating right now in the NFL if they're all going to allow him to use electronics to coach from his office or at home or something. Like, just let the guy coach. It's COVID. Like, anyway, besides that, I thought the Browns had a chance to keep this game close. I'm worried about Baker Mayfield's first playoff game. He runs very hot, very cold. He's a head case. I think he comes into that game a little too pumped up. Don't be surprised for his first 3 passes to be incompletions or interceptions. I think the Steelers were playing possum last weekend and kind of slowly starting and whatnot. They got Ben an extra week of rest. So I'm going with the Steelers to cover.
And the only thing that I'm going to say is the Browns had trouble last week with the Steelers' second stringers.
Yeah.
Basically playing second string all over the field. Defense, offense, basically everywhere. And they struggled to win the game. And now you're going to put everybody on rests from the Steelers into basically a division game. And I just don't think the Browns have what it takes to stay with the Steelers. Offensively, defensively, Pittsburgh's defense is very good. I think they win. I think they cover the 6, and I don't think the Browns have a chance.
Yeah. So we're pretty much in sync here for the weekend. Most of I think it was 4 of the games were all on the same page, and there's just a couple different differences. Now we can move on to the Fanduel Fee action stacks of the week. It's wild card weekend. We have extra games, which means we have extra players. And as Fee was discussing before we came on the call, you have 3 different slates to choose from this weekend, right? You have your Saturday slate. You could just do Saturday. You have your Sunday slate. You could just do Sunday, or you could do both. Myself, I'm a individual day type of guy. I don't like to wait. I don't want to jump out to a big lead and then have to wait on a couple players to see if I win. So what I did, we're going to mix it up a little bit this week. I made a team for this Saturday slate, and we're going to run it by Fanduel Fee and see what he thinks and what else he could throw out there. So again, first thing we're going to do, this is the Saturday only slate. So you got the Bills and the Colts, the Bucks and the Redskins, and the Rams and the Seahawks. Those are the only teams I'm choosing from for wild card weekend. Dutton, feel free to jump in with any thoughts on any of the players available. We'll start right at quarterback. I paid up. I have no problem doing so. This guy has shown that he could do it against any defense at any time. Josh Allen has to be the play, maybe possibly even for Saturday and Sunday slate too. I mean, it's $9,000, but it's worth the pay.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. Josh Allen is basically the guy for the Saturday slate, mostly the guy for the Sunday slate as well. There's a couple other guys you could throw in there, but specifically he's talking about the Saturday slate. The only other guy that I might have interest in, and it's a huge question mark because we just talked about how they might swap quarterbacks halfway through the game or whatever it is the Washington football team is going to decide to do. But Alex Smith against Tampa is only 6,500, and you don't need to go that low. But I talked about it all year long about how the only way to beat Tampa is through the air. And I don't know what the deal is with them switching out quarterbacks and all that, which scares me off of them. But if there was some sort of report that came out where they said Alex Smith is going to play the whole game, I might make a second lineup with him in it. But otherwise, Josh Allen is your guy for sure.
Hey, Fee, what's the difference in cost between Brady and Allen? Because I'm sure people are like, why not Brady?
Yeah, let me bring that up. Hang on.
And it's funny that you mentioned Alex Smith because I started making the lineup with Alex Smith and then got scared off him because of the injury.
Yeah. So Brady, who'd you say between Brady and Allen? You said.
Yeah, Brady and Allen.
Brady is 8,000. Josh Allen is 9,000.
Okay. So yeah, right.
But I don't.
Yeah, because I'm with you. There's only two quarterbacks I would look at the whole weekend, really.
I hear what you're saying with Brady. And honestly, salary doesn't really matter so much for this one.
Right, that you're just looking at upside, like who's going to have the more points, who's going to bang for your buck.
For this particular spot, yes.
Right.
Brady, the only thing that scares me, I know you think that Brady's going to come out and like just go.
No, I hear you.
But with Evans hurt, Washington's defense, the way they play, it just scares me.
Well, you got to factor in Tampa's lack of an offensive line against strong defensive fronts.
Exactly. And to be very honest with you, you could go Brady, but I think the risk doesn't match the reward in playing him when you can play Josh Allen for
right, and have more confidence that he's going to be more consistent for you.
Exactly.
Right.
So here's where the problem starts to come into play because you basically have 6 good defenses on Saturday, right? You're not playing matchups. You're playing, well, obviously you're playing matchups, but you're
also playing potential, right?
Right. Yeah. You're playing potential. So you're obviously going to have question marks about the next 2 picks, but I'm going to rationalize why I picked each of them. The first one is Naeem Hines on the Colts for 5,600. Jonathan Taylor's questionable. They interviewed him today. He said he didn't practice today. He said there's 0 doubt I'm fine. He said I'm playing. But the Bills, there's a chance, like we said, the Bills could be up 31-7 before they know it. And Hines is that guy. Hines is the guy that's going to come in and be in the backfield. And he's also proven for the value of 5,600, he could get you easily at least 2 times your investment, possibly 3 if he gets the touchdown. Fee, thoughts?
I love that pick. Love Hines. I completely agree that Indy could get down big to Buffalo. And if that happens, they're not going to stick with Taylor. They're going to go to Hines. They're going to go to that change of pace. They might start off with Taylor. The real problem is that Jonathan Taylor is 8,800.
That's
astronomical for a running back who's not Derrick Henry or Alvin Kamara. Okay, that's very high price for someone who game script does not favor this week.
Right. Yeah.
That's just really how I look at it. I mean, you could play Taylor. I mean, there aren't a whole lot of very expensive guys. You could fit in guys into your lineup this week. That's why I said salary didn't really matter a whole lot. But for 8,800, it just seems like it's a little too much, a little too rich for that type of player, especially for a guy who might not play the whole game, who they have another running back who's proven to catch the ball out of the backfield, be the third down guy, be the guy who comes in when they're behind.
Yeah, he can end up with a ton of garbage points, a ton of like 12-yard screen passes, 6-yard run.
100% agree that Hines is definitely your guy. He was definitely in my lineup ahead of Taylor for sure.
So we're moving on to the next guy, and he's he's definitely a Wayniac Nation podcast favorite. Playing the second toughest rush defense in the league. But Antonio Gibson has the questionable next to him. So I went with Jarrett McKissick, $5,400 against Tampa Bay. He's not the guy that's going to run up the middle. He's the guy that's going to go outside and flank out. And I think at 5,400, you got another guy in your hands that could double your investment.
So you are right on all.
You've learned well this year, Wayne. You've learned well.
You are right on all the guys that I was going to talk about. McKissick is 100% in my lineup also. And I feel like, I mean, I don't know what the percent rostered projections are currently because it's only Wednesday. And I don't know that I care so much, but I feel like it would be a pretty unique lineup. And I have this lineup exactly how we've been talking about it with Hines and McKissick both at my running back position.
All right. Well, let's see how much
so
how
McKissick
it keeps going.
And you basically said McKissick is 5,400. You basically said exactly what I was thinking with him. Antonio Gibson has that toe injury. He played last week. I do not believe he was very effective. I don't think that he's healthy. I don't think even if he plays, I don't think he's going to play most of the game. There's a huge chance again with game script where Tampa could be ahead big. Who knows? Even if they're not ahead big, they'll probably be ahead and they're going to get McKissick in the game. And again, we talked about it before. Throwing the ball is how you beat Tampa. You're not going to run it. Even though McKissick is your running back, he's going to be the one catching the ball out of the backfield on passes. Okay. Mm-hmm. So I'm a very big fan of McKissick. He's in my lineup and I like it. I like it a lot.
All right. So let's move to
Fee, let me ask you another quick question. Hold on, Wayne. I want to ask a quick question. So let's say that I don't like either one of your suggestions. How much is a guy like Chris Carson? I'm just trying to get an understanding.
He was 7,000. I looked at him and I didn't like the price.
7,000 against the Rams. There's no way you start him against that front.
That's what I didn't like about it.
Right. Exactly. Right. Okay. Yeah. I looked at other guys. It's there's just too much risk involved. David Montgomery is playing the Saints, best run defense in the league.
Right.
400. Okay. Too much. It's too much to spend.
Yeah.
Chubb. Who okay, so they're playing Pittsburgh again, very good run defense. He's 7,700, but he also has Kareem Hunt behind him. So there's that off chance that they decide they're going to go with Hunt instead, especially because Pittsburgh is going to be so good against the run that Hunt comes out and does that same, McKissick / Hunt, spot. And then you got Chris Carson again, 7,000 against that Rams front, for defense. That I just don't think that they're going to be able to run the ball.
Yeah, no, I agree. That's why I was just trying to get an understanding of you're paying 7,000 for a guy that's not going to possibly get you nearly the points that a guy at 5,200 can get you, whatever that like Naheem Hines is or something.
The only other guy I had on my running back list was Dobbins at 6,800, and the problem with that is. Lamar Jackson runs the ball too much.
He does.
You just don't, and then you got Gus Edwards too, stealing time from him too, and I just don't think that he's going to pay off as big as some of the other guys we talked about.
Yeah, he's a Sunday guy though, so he wouldn't be in the equation right now. But yes, I agree with you.
Oh, is he a Sunday guy? Oh, yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, no, you're fine. Let's move on to wide receivers, and here comes my Fanduel Fee stack of the week. He is questionable, so you got to keep your eyes on him. But at 8,700, Stephon Diggs, he's going to play. Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs, they're a match made in heaven, as they say. You got to start him, right? That's your stack of the week.
Yeah, yeah. If you're going to play Josh Allen, you are most likely going to play Stephon Diggs. And I will throw in one other thing is Beasley. I don't know if Beasley, he didn't play last week, so I'm
Right.
not 100% sure if how healthy he is. I don't even know what his injury was. Do you guys know?
I'm not sure, to
Mm-mm.
be honest with you. It was something with
know.
his leg the
Um,
week before. I know that.
Yeah.
While he
so
was
I don't.
playing, he only had 2 catches, I believe, the week before.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because
so
he had like
last week,
15 the week before that.
Yeah.
right? So, but I don't know how healthy he is. But John Brown is healthy and he's back for them. And when John Brown is back in the lineup, Beasley doesn't do anything anyway. So if you really want to get creative, you can throw in a triple stack and go Allen, Diggs, and John Brown, who most likely is going to be very low owned and have a very unique lineup that way.
Mhm. John Brown is also a Division II football player from Pittsburgh State. The Gorillas, one of the coolest mascots in all of college football, never mind just D2. So he always has a little piece of my heart. But that being said, my next 2 receivers, I'll give you 2 since the receivers there's so many to choose from. I am going with Robert Woods at 6,700. He's a Tim Brown guy to me. I feel like he's a guy that always gets you 10, and he's very good floor with a high ceiling. He could get that end around run that sometimes he gets for 30 yards and a touchdown against that Seahawk defense, and still get the 5 catches for 80 yards. So I like Woods at 6,700. And then the next guy I could see a lot of people questioning, but he seems to be settling in. I like Antonio Brown. He's been getting a lot of quick looks, and he's still got the speed to turn him into to yards, and he's only 6,500. So I penciled those 2 in. What do you
And
think?
no Mike Evans.
And
possibly.
right, correct. No,
Yeah.
Mike Evans was also the big factor.
Exactly. And Woods was not on my list only because of the whole Jared Goff thing.
Right.
Whoever they're Wolford. It's kind of iffy that way, especially and with Cooper Kupp back. I don't know. I'm not 100% sure about it. I
That's
do
fair.
agree Woods would be a good guy to have if they're gonna throw those short passes, but I don't know exactly how that's gonna play out. So he wasn't on my list. I do love Antonio Brown this week at 6,500. Evans being hurt the way he is, whether he plays or does not play. Well, if he doesn't play, it's fantastic. If he does play, I think it's just in a very limited role.
Almost like a diversion.
And yeah,
Yeah.
and I love Antonio Brown this week. Opposite Godwin. I also had Godwin on my list because I do think Tampa throws the ball a lot. And I also had 2 other guys on my list since you spoke about all 3 of your guys, right?
Yep.
Mhm.
Go ahead.
I do love Antonio Brown. We talked about Diggs. We talked about John Brown. I have 2 other guys. I like Terry McLaurin. I know that he has an injury designation. He's at 7,100, but I mean, I talked about it all year. You got to throw the ball against Tampa. And if you're going to be throwing the ball, who are you going to be throwing the ball to? There's 2 guys, Logan Thomas, Terry McLaurin, and JD McKissick too. But you can almost guarantee he's going to get, 7, 8 targets for sure. And, who knows how many catches and who knows how many yards, and maybe he gets in the end zone. But I do like McLaurin this week. And there's one other guy I like if you're going to go with that Buffalo stack. I don't mind playing Pascal for the Colts. Coming back.
Way. Yeah.
He's only 5,300. He's really their second guy. Pittman kind of fell off a cliff after 3 big weeks he had. Pascal's been
right after I picked him up.
the guy behind Hilton.
Right after I picked him up in fantasy football, he fell off a cliff.
So I would even throw Pascal in there because if they're going to be down, they're going to have to throw the ball too. And
yeah,
I like Pascal in that situation.
Moving on to tight end, you said my guy. Here's all I got to say about Logan Thomas at 6,400. He had 100 yards receiving from Dwayne Haskins. Okay. It doesn't matter who's behind center. This guy's going to catch balls. I got Logan Thomas And it's actually one of the only good favorable matchups of the weekend, of the Saturday slate, with all the solid defenses.
I would agree with that.
Yeah, Tampa Bay is not strong against the tight end, and it's one of the only solid actual matchups that you could. I feel like this is a lock, and it's a no-brainer. Fee, what do you got?
100% agree. Logan Thomas, that's where it's at. That's the guy you're playing this week. There's really no question about it. If you really, really needed to save salary and you wanted to be cheeky about it, you could go Trey Burton for Indy, Buffalo. He's 4,700, which is like almost min salary. And again, if Indy's going to be down big, they're going to have to throw the ball. Trey Burton has come through a couple of times this year. So if you really wanted to get sneaky about it, he'd be a pretty deep sleeper. But otherwise, if you can make it happen, Logan Thomas is your guy.
I'm going to jump real quick to the defense. I really think you could pick any defense this week. I think they all have the potential to put up. I went with the Bills. I just think they have the most opportunity to make points. Not necessarily, the Saints or the Bucks. They may play solid defense, and the Redskins, but I don't know if they'll be getting points, if that makes sense. I think the Bills have a good opportunity to make some points out of it.
And they're only the third highest salaried defense on the Saturday slate. So
it's also prime time Phillip Rivers implosion, right?
That's true.
Bills go up big. Phillip Rivers forces the issue. He throws 3 interceptions. One of them gets returned for a touchdown, right?
That's what I mean. I just feel like that opportunity to get big points is there with the Bills.
Yeah.
And that left me with 60. No, I'm sorry. It left me with $7,200, but there wasn't anyone I really liked. And I don't even really love this pick. So maybe you could talk me into someone else. I have $7,200, like I said, but I spent $6,700 on Ronald Jones.
7,200? Oh, you're talking about for the flex spot?
Yeah, for flex, I have 7,200. I didn't really like it was a lot of receivers at that point. And as you and I have talked every Saturday night, I like the running back, especially a pass catching running back.
Get the ball a lot.
Yeah. So I left a little bit of money on the table, but I went with Ronald Jones at flex. And
here's a question for you.
Go ahead.
Let me hear your rationale first. I'm going to ask you.
My rationale is that, as we said, everyone thinks the Bucs are going to roll this game, except for us. The line is 8. So we think it's going to be a lot closer. If that holds true, that second half, they're going to be slowing the game down to keep the ball away from Washington. And Ronald Jones could be that guy.
All right. So let me ask you a question. And Fiumano, you can help me with this too, to help you out. How much is Gronk?
Gronk is 6,000.
Okay. Because I was thinking, Wayne, you can activate Brady Gronk playoffs, right?
Sure.
Brady's got a lot of pressure on him. Gronk just run 5-yard outs. I'm going to throw you the ball 20 times today. You know, You and I know how to win playoff games. This team doesn't. Let me help them.
Yeah, that's a valid point. Definitely a valid point.
I mean, but I like your Ronald Jones thinking, but I was just, in comparison in terms of cost.
So both of those are extremely interesting picks. I like them. They would definitely give you some unique lineups because both of maybe not so much Gronk. Maybe not so much Gronk. Ronald Jones for sure, but not so much Gronk would probably be pretty low owned. The way I was thinking about it this week for the Saturday slate was, while yes, we usually like to throw a running back in the flex spot almost 90% of the time, I felt like this week was a get away from that type of thinking and throw a receiver or a tight end into your flex spot this week. And Gronk is definitely part of that. I mean, you could go 100 different ways. I mean, 7,200. There's not a whole lot of guys that are more than that. You could go a whole bunch of different ways. But I do. You make a very good argument for the Ronald Jones thing. The only thing is though, I feel like you're gonna have a pretty unique lineup with Hines and McKissick if those are indeed your two running backs. You're gonna have a pretty unique lineup regardless. So you might not have to go Ronald
Right.
Jones.
That's
You
fair.
could, and it might pay off for you. And actually, it's not a bad idea. I might have to do something similar to that now that I think about it, because it's a very good idea. But I also like the Gronk idea, going with the 2 tight ends. I mean, that would definitely give you a pretty unique lineup structure.
So, well, that's my lineup, and that leaves a few players. And as I'm looking at the time, this is already the longest show we've ever had. So, while we appreciate you listening to us, I do want Fee to make sure he gets you all the plays you can this week. Fee, what else are you looking at this week that I haven't wasted your time talking about?
All right, I'll give it to you pretty quick. I'll give you the Sunday slate only. And I was looking at Lamar at 9,300, and I was also looking at Ben against the Browns. He's only 7,500, which is kind of crazy to think about, because
Well rested.
they don't really have much of a run game.
Yeah.
And I have to throw the ball, and Ben's going to have to do his thing. And at 7,500, I mean, that's a pretty solid salary for him. At running back, I love Alvin Kamara at 9,000. He's going to be back. And I talked about Dobbins. I like him. He's at 6,800. There's not really a whole lot of running backs to choose from on the Sunday slate. Those are really like the only 2 guys that I actually like, and I probably have them in all of my lineups. You move over to receiver. I like Chase Claypool at 6,100. If you wanted to stack him up with Ben. I like Allen Robinson against New Orleans, because they're going to have to throw the ball at 7,200. I really love Michael Thomas, because he's going to be back. They just activated him against Chicago. He's only 6,800. I didn't mention him, but I wouldn't mind throwing Breeze in that and having a lineup with Breeze, Kamara, and Michael Thomas, and just filling the rest of the way. And I also like Jarvis Landry going against Pitt the other way at 6,600. Tight ends, there's a whole lot of tight ends I like. It really just matters what you think and how much you want to pay for him. Andrews this week is the top guy, 7,000. I love him. I think that, I mean, aside from Hollywood Brown, if the Ravens throw the ball against Tennessee, which they might have to do if Tennessee does their thing and puts up points, because they put up points, you might have to play Andrews. He's at 7,000. If you can't afford him, there's 3 guys in the $5,000 range that I actually really like. Cook for the Saints at 5,900. No. Yep. Big thumbs down from Wayne.
You know my feelings on Cook.
I know. Cole Kmet on the opposite side at 5,300. And my value guy this week, who I really love, is Jonnu Smith.
It's a good one.
Against Baltimore.
Mm-hmm.
He's 5,200. Really like him a lot. If Derrick Henry can't get it moving against Baltimore, they're going to throw the ball. Yeah, they got A.J. Brown, but we also saw Corey Davis. Wayne will tell you about that. Bit up a big goose egg in his playoff game.
Yeah.
John, he gets targets. He gets looks. He gets in the end zone. I like him, especially at 5,200. That's it. That's what I got for the Sunday slate.
I love it. I can't wait to talk more about the weekend. So that's the thing, that the lines could change. We're filming on Wednesday night. We don't publish this till Thursday morning. A lot could change. So we stick with you. We give you our updates. We tell you what we like to see. And you could check in on our Instagram page at Wayniac_nation_podcast_page. I got to shorten it. I get winded just announcing it. But if you go there, we post the lineups that we lock in on. We post the locks of the week in our stories. So we bring you what you need to know as things change, especially if there's injuries or more COVID list people that get pushed off. I can't believe we made it to the playoffs. I'm happy you guys are still listening. If you're still listening, is there anybody out there?
We're here.
But yeah, we'll be back next week with more Fanduel Fee action stacks of the week and our locks of the week. Thanks for tuning in as always, and have a good one.
Good luck this week.